This is Professor Howard. Welcome to part 2 of our tutorial. In this section of the tutorial, we've already categorized our data, and now we want to import a historic map. To do this, you want to visit the website for the David Rumsey map collection. We're going to import a JPEG. This is really just an image file, right? Just like any type of photograph, but it's a high-resolution scan of an old paper map. When you visit the David Rumsey map collection site, you're going to want to use the export button to export this in the extra large format. When you do that, it's going to appear in your downloads area as a zipped file. You can then follow our standard protocol, taking that zipped file, dragging it to your desktop, and then double-clicking to extract the files. When you have the file on your desktop, and it's been unzipped, you look inside and you'll see that you've got various file types, including the JPEG image of the map, which you should be able to see at this point. To import that to the map, we'll do that in a little bit. The next step, we want to bring in a terrain layer, and this is just to remind you that you can also access various types of geographic terrain. If you click that link to the Natural Earth site, that's this page, and that'll take you to this page that gives us shaded relief of land areas. Select the download small size, save it to your desktop, unzip it if needed. This file you're going to add to your map as a raster layer using this Add Raster Layer button on the left. Add Raster Layer, and then you have to carefully navigate to the file that you want. It tries to do that for you, but it does it incorrectly. Right? So you want to make sure that you navigate to that SR50M file. And inside these folders, you're going to find that TIFF file. TIF is the file extension. Go ahead and add that and close. You've now added that to your map. If you right-click on this layer, we can zoom to layer. And there it is. If you drag your state boundaries map above the terrain layer, you should be able to see those. Because remember, the map demonstrates and it displays the data in the order that you arrange the panels in the panels box. You can play with lightening the opacity of your layer in the Symbology tab for your general map layer, which is now indicated by this polygon. The States layer. In there on the Symbology tab, you can change from graduated to single symbol. Change the opacity. If you want it to be less opaque, click Apply. You can see I took that way down. Go in again. You can change it back to graduated. Now I want to repeat my data classifications that I lost. Right, so I want to select the column that I'm mapping, Pop Estimate 2018, classify the data, choose the breaks. So now what you've done, if you zoom in, you can see that you've done it so that you can see the terrain through the less dense visualization of your data. Now we want to add the raster layer for the historic map we downloaded. And the first step here in this tutorial has us do this incorrectly. So the wrong way is to click Add Raster Layer and pick that map that you downloaded. So even though we know it's wrong, we're doing it anyway to see what it looks like when you do it wrong. So here we go to the Transcontinental Railroads folder, choose that image, and say Add. So if you zoom to Map Layer, you see this weird ugly box, and what that is the corner of that JPEG. So you've added the JPEG, but you haven't added any geographic coordinates, no latitude and longitude for the computer to know where to put it. So that's obviously the wrong way to do it, so you can go ahead and remove that layer. Now you want to do it the correct way. So to do this the correct way, you need to georeference the map. To do that, you're going to need to use the Georeferencer plugin. You can find that on your raster menu. You can see mine is here. If you don't have that, you can add it from the Plugins menu under Manage and Install Plugins. Here you're going to find the box for Georeferencer GDAL. Click the box and close. When you do that, it should now appear in your raster menu. When you open your Georeferencer, you use this Add Raster Layer button to choose that image and say OK. Now we're looking at this map. There are pins on this already because I've done this part of the exercise before, but what you want to do is to click a spot on the map that you want to correlate with geographic coordinates. If you knew those coordinates, you could type them in, latitude and longitude, but if not, you click on From Map Canvas, and then on the map canvas, you click on the map to find the spot. Now it's closed my box. And say OK. So once you say OK, it establishes a set of pins, and I've now added that red pin. You want a number of pins. You don't just want a few. You need at least 7. They should be spread all around the country to get a good warp. When you're done with that, you want to go ahead and click the yellow gear to adjust your transformation settings. In there, you want to be sure you pick thin plate spline, and for resampling method, you want to choose cubic spline. These are mathematical aspects of the transformation. Then for output raster box, you want to use those dots to choose a location to save this file. So wherever it is that you want to put it, that's where you're going to save it. I've already saved this file. Then you want to use 0 for transparency when needed. Say OK. And now you're returning to your main Georeferencer menu where you want to click the green play button. When you click the green play button, that's going to begin georeferencing the file. So now when the georeferencer is done, that has saved your file. So when you close out of this, you can say yes, you want to save your points for later. And now you can add your georeference map to QGIS as a raster layer. Right click and zoom to layer. You want to see this. And to do this, we use the Add Raster Layer button, the blue and black squares in the left-hand menu. Now you want to surf to whatever you called your newly warped raster layer. So mine was called this file modified. You say Open, Add, and Close. And now you see my warped map sitting there on top. You can also style the map by moving the states layer on top of the historic map so that you can see that data. I'm not doing very well with my mouse. There's my map with the colorful data sitting on top so that I can see that. You can move the terrain layer up above the states layer if you want to see that. To do that, then you want to make this really light so that you can see through it. So you would then open the terrain layer properties and edit the symbology to a minimum of 52 and a maximum of 255. Blending mode to hard light, and the contrast to -20. Or so. Close enough. You apply and say OK. The point here being that you can see the terrain as well as your data and the historic map and the railroads all at once. If you move your railroad layer to the top, you can see the railroad more clearly, and then you can edit the railroad layer to make it a different color by going into Properties, so there you've done it. You've now done all of these steps in QGIS. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I look forward to continuing on in our journey.